Good evening. This is a meeting of the Hampden Selectboard and Board of Health being held in the Townhouse Auditorium on April 28, 2025 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person and remotely using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. According to Mass General Law, is anyone recording the meeting other than ourselves?
And Kristen.
And Kristen Rivers from the Wilbraham Times is recording. Good evening, Christian. Okay, anyone else?
Craig is joining us as well.
Select Board Member Rivest is on as well, okay. Hi, Craig. Okay, the first thing on our agenda is the minutes, but we're gonna skip those because Select Board Member Rivest is not gonna be able to be with us all this evening, so we'll finish the minutes at the end of the meeting. We have with us the esteemed Master Plan Committee.
Of which you're a member, right?
Of which I'm a member.
What are you guys steamed about? I thought it went well.
We're steamed.
Yeah.
Is Luke on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Pat?
Yes, so I think this evening, our task is for the Select Board to accept the master plan. It was previously accepted by the Planning Board, and I believe everyone has been able to review a copy. And just a couple highlights before I know Luke and you perhaps want to add some comments. Just to highlight a few things, this was a 15-month project with the team from VHB, Luke and Julia, which I thought did just a great job on the town's behalf. Very helpful in us moving through the process. We met every Wednesday for 15 months. I think there was 3 Wednesdays we didn't meet. We completed the plan on time, and actually I was gonna say on budget, but at the end of the day, we were under budget by $605.01. So nice thing there. The total cost of $133,000, $75,000 was covered by a state grant, which Brian helped us with. The project activities included, we had an immersion day, stakeholder interviews, an economic development roundtable, 2 public meetings, a pop-up event, and an online community survey. I think of it actually, even in its current state, we've recognized certain benefits immediately. It's a great reference document for town facts. I mean, it really updated a lot of things that people think they understood about the town and rolled them forward to the current time. It'll be great supporting guidance for the planning board in our decision-making process, and it's already proven to be useful in grant applications. I recall, Don, you said you and Brian used some of the language there earlier. So I want to thank our team. It was Dan Blanchard, Don, of course, yourself, Connie Witt, Tad Brown, Joe Sibilia, and Heather Beatty, who joined us early on in the process and couldn't stay with us throughout it. And as I mentioned, the VHB team, Julia and Luke, and their colleagues were great sources as we went through this process. I'd like to think, we reviewed as a team every line of the document, as Don remembers, through our Wednesday meeting. So I think it got a very thorough scrubbing. So I'm hopeful that the Select Board will accept the plan and move forward. Thank you.
Luke, do you have anything to add, or Julia?
Yeah, hi, everybody. How are you? Yeah, we had a great time pulling.
You can do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
You guys hear me?
can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Have you got a mute button on?
No, it's not muted.
No.
Bad connection.
Testing. Can you hear me?
On mute.
No, he's not.
Click on participants, we'll see what it says.
I don't know why.
Yeah, he's not on mute.
Testing. Can you hear me?
No, you have to kick it out.
No, it's not us.
Hello?
Well, short and sweet, that was good.
Log back on. Maybe log off and log back on.
That's doing a lot.
I can hear him on my end. Can you guys hear me?
No, not. You're talking about.
Can I hear
Is there a
Craig?
phone number I could call?
No.
I'll give them mine.
Craig, can you speak?
Yeah, I'm speaking right now. I hear him on my end.
Feel better.
Yeah, Craig's talking, but I couldn't hear him.
Craig's on mute though.
Somebody have a good speaker on their phone.
He hears Craig too. We don't hear him.
So where does that come out? Does it come out through here?
They can hear us though.
They can hear us, but we can't hear
Try
them.
again?
Testing.
No?
Hello.
That's just the microphone one, that's the speaker.
Testing.
There we
There it
go.
is.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, great. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep, yep.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, thanks for just giving me a minute to speak. I'll keep it brief, but yeah, Julia and I really led the charge, but there was other folks at VHB who helped us, including people who specialize in historic and cultural resources, people who specialize in sustainability, people who specialize in transportation. And you know, we really enjoyed the process from those early days when we took a community tour, and somebody was able to rent a party bus for us, and that was a lot of fun. And we got to see all of the little neighborhoods and districts and the town center and all the great facilities. So really a great process. The steering committee was so helpful at every turn. So thank you guys for the energy that you brought. You guys had a lot of great ideas and really pushed us. And the message that we heard loud and clear was, okay, yeah, you know, Hampden is a small town. We don't just want like a small town comp plan. We want to be a small town of excellence. We want to be a sort of a model for what a small town can be in New England, not just now, but sort of moving forward over the next coming decades when there's so much uncertainty out there. So that's the sort of purview that we had, and we really enjoyed working through all the chapters. In the vision statement, what we said was, while bordered by larger neighbors, Hampden prides itself on being a vibrant and resilient small town, offering an exceptional quality of life to its residents, visitors, and businesses. And Hampden's committed to balanced growth and preservation, enhanced open spaces, support for small businesses, inclusive urban opportunities, effective emergency services, climate resilience, supporting education system, community engagement, and innovative planning. I won't go through all of the details of the chapters. You guys have copies of the plan. But at a high level, you know, like, so first chapter's on land use. Of course, Hampden is a small town, right? There's not so much development happening year upon year. But that's great. That means that you can be really strategic about management and sort of mitigating and facilitating the right types of development in the right places, while at the same time managing conservation. And then that all factors into your land use regulatory framework and your zoning and the way that you do permitting and all that stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff in there about that. Second chapter is on housing. The population of Hampden is not increasing by a significant rate. In some years, it's contracting. Okay, so the real driver for housing in Hampden isn't population growth, but you still have demographic shifts that are happening, right? And the two biggest ones are the population, the median age is increasing, the population is getting older. And second, the size of a household is getting smaller over time. By the way, that's not unique to Hampden. You see that all over the place. So you got to make sure that the housing inventory you have is keeping up to date with the needs of those shifting demographics. So there's a lot of stuff in there about that and how you can help advocate for the right types of housing. Third is economic development chapter. Just like any other town, Hampden needs to maintain a strong commercial tax base to help share the costs, the increasing costs, I should add, of running a municipality, which I'll tell you, we work for so many municipalities in Massachusetts, and the number of towns that are going up against Proposition 2.5 and trying to get an override, and they're struggling with increasing costs for running a municipality. It's like serious, right? So there's just inflation impacts towns too. So it just stresses the importance of your commercial tax base and also, of course, job creation. The fourth chapter is about historic and cultural resources. You're located in New England, which has some of the best, most fascinating history in the country, but that history doesn't always reveal itself. You got to take actions to make sure it's revealed, and you can explore it and celebrate it and help boost your economic development by you taking advantage of that. So, all right, I'll keep going though. Chapter 5 is public facilities and services. It's it's about more than just like utilities. You know, it's about roads, utilities, services, and including soft infrastructure of the town government and the boards that you have in place and what their roles are and how they're working together, and also how the government is interacting with the community. What are the techniques for outreach and online and offline? 6th chapter is open space and rec. 76% of Hampden is undeveloped. 64% is like beautiful forest. You got all this great open space, including a lot of managed open space, some Audubon land, a lot of land that's in chapter 61. Okay, so it's all about maintaining and strengthening that because it's such a great asset and really a differentiator. One thing that makes Hampden so great. 7th out of 8 chapters is on resiliency and climate. Obviously, this is impacting everyone. In Hampden, it might mean increased flooding, stress from increasing heats, extreme weather events. So there's a lot in the plan about dealing with that resilience. And by the way, much of that is how can you go pursue other people's money, state money, federal money to tackle those issues, which are increasingly urgent. Chapter 8 and the last chapter is about transportation and mobility. We work in a lot of communities that have bus and rail and all sorts of stuff. You don't have so much of those systems in Hampden. It's really about the roads. So great, lean into that. Make sure that the roadways are as strong as they need to be and equipped with the right infrastructure. One of the big questions is about traffic lights. Do they belong in this intersection or that intersection? So we get into that in the plan. And then certainly also we thought about people walking and people riding bikes. Do they have the spaces they need to navigate the community in the way that they want to? And then the last thing I won't go on too much longer about is about implementation. We at VHB on our planning team are always very, very interested in how you're going to get the plan implemented, because this is the end of the planning process, but it is the beginning of a long period when you need to implement what's codified in the plan, what's written in the plan. You are in a unique position because you don't have a town planner. Many towns have town planners. Hampden's small enough. A lot of towns with the same population size that you have don't have a town planner. So that becomes the central challenge of this comp plan. How are you going to implement it if you don't have that champion whose job 40 hours a week is to manage the planning in Hampden? So that's a real challenge that we have asked the committee and others in the public meetings to really focus on, which is, okay, that doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you got to be intentional about how you do it. Who are you going to tap to make sure that you have the right network of people who are going to be meeting on a regular basis? Maybe there's another committee, kind of like the master plan committee. It could be an implementation committee. By the way, we work in Westboro where they've formed an implementation committee. They've had great success over the past 4 years, and they're starting to implement 10, 15, 20% of the actions from the comp plan. So I would just leave you with that thought, which is on implementation, which is so important. Please be intentional and keep that energy up, because the next 6 months are going to be that critical part of the implementation timeline when this plan can either lose steam or you can keep the ball rolling and build that momentum to get an implementation routine and process in place. So that's all I'll say. But thank you guys again for having us to prepare this plan. We learned so much and we met so many great people.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you, Luke.
John, do you have anything to add?
Well, I think certainly a notable improvement over the last one in 82. And that one showed, basically, they did a cookie cutter approach to the town, said, oh, you can have 19,000 people here, because they just divided up, not understanding where's a cliff. Okay, you're not putting a house in the middle of a river. I think the thoroughness that VHB did along with this great committee, this wasn't going to be a 1-month project. They went through the thing from top to bottom, and I think everybody who were on the committee took their own personal experiences to bring it into what they knew, and I can see everything reflected in here. And I thank you.
Greg?
I don't have anything to add other than what John just said. It looks like a thorough plan, and I appreciate the thought of keeping the open space as open space.
Any other members, additional comments?
Did I freeze up there? Sorry.
Yeah, you did, yeah. Good.
You have 1 minute, Pat. Divided among your committee.
Yeah, I think that's.
I would just say that I've already started to implement some of the action plan items that were listed in the plan, in the plan, so it is, guidance for me as the Park and Rec Director to implement those things in the plan, so I'm using it as, guidance for our department.
I would entertain a motion to accept the plan.
I will make that motion.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Thank you.
Get your gifts, and there's a cookie here for the committee if you'd like.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is a Parks and Rec fundraising event discussion.
Yeah. So I'm coming to you guys to talk about a plan for a community concert called Rockin' to Summer. It's sort of to celebrate the start of summer and hopefully maybe show off the possibilities of what we can do with our new municipal office space building area. It's really about creating an annual community event. I'd like to make this annual if we can to bring Hampden residents and families together while also supporting local and resident businesses. So, a lot of the things I have planned include bringing in people from town to, for instance, the band that I have signed up for the date, the lead singer is from Hampden. So we're trying to keep it as local as possible.
Is that Dale?
Dale Dismaris, yeah, from General Gist. We're looking to do this on June 19th, 2025, which is a Thursday, at TWB. The concert would go, it's an outdoor concert, it would go from approximately 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Parking lot would probably open at 5 p.m. It's a free event for the town. However, we would be accepting donations to the Recreation Association of Hampden, which is kind of our financing arm or our donations arm. So we would have people or volunteers collecting money when accessing the property to park. If they so choose to, we'll also probably have some QR codes for if people need to make online donations that don't have cash. Expected attendance is probably somewhere, I think we consider the event a success if we had 200 people there. I think it's fairly weather dependent. If we have good weather, I think we could see a big turnout, but if I had to put a number on it, I'd say probably somewhere between 200 to 400 people. We're not gonna do a rain date. The band is available at this time. They are a busy band. We don't want to go up against the Fountain Park Summer Concert Series, which begins the next week. So we're kind of locked into this day. If we get a rain out, it's just going to be canceled. There's approximately 190 parking spots at TWB. We have some overflow area. If I could share my screen, I can kind of show you a layout of what I've planned for the event. Let me request that.
Screen share.
Host disable participant screen sharing. Can I request that?
Did I put all the participants?
That's fine. You can do all this.
I'm gonna request share.
Okay.
Is that going through?
Excited.
Okay, I'm gonna request it. Okay, there we go. It should be coming up. Yeah, so here's the overhead of TWB. This is obviously the entryway into TWB. This is where we'd have 2 lanes splitting out here to have cars funnel into 2 lanes, probably collecting cash if anybody that wanted to donate. We can have volunteer assist people parking if it's that busy. You can see I've noted overflow parking here. For some reason, we were able to fill the lot with 190 places. This will be blocked off here, except for handicap parking. We'll have as many handicap spots as we need over here. It's my intention to bring in some local food trucks. I've talked to Ferrandino Maple. I've talked to Batch Ice Cream, and I'll probably be reaching out to a couple other local food vendors that may be willing to come in and share food for us. Bathrooms will be over here. The bands will have 3 porta-johns on site. We have the band stage will be right behind the building, and then you have your public viewing area here. I also have someone that's going to submit a 1-day liquor license to possibly have a beer and wine garden, if that's something we can take a look at. I put in for the entertainment license with Lauren this morning, and then I have requested the facility use with the school district today. I emailed that over to them today. For safety, I'll be meeting with the Hampden Fire Department, or Hampden Police Department to discuss safety, traffic, and the beer garden if that gets approved. The food trucks will be submitting applications for the health department and inspected by the fire department. Like I said, we have 3 portable bathrooms on site. Concert goers will not be going into the building. This is strictly an outdoor event, and there'll be first aid kits on site. I have, if it'll allow me, will it allow me to show this, share this? I have to request that separately. I was gonna show you some marketing materials, but I guess I have to do that separately, so.
Right. Don't think we need to see that.
So this should be coming up, I think. Yeah, so this is the band, that's Dale, our local resident. He runs our pickleball program as well. He does a great job with that. This is a draft of some marketing materials that we put together. Just shows Dale some quick information about about the event. All of this has not been shared publicly. It's just, this is all editable based on decisions that are made about the event and approvals. And then there's another quick picture of Dale there. And this is on our Parks and Rec website, our MyRec site up here. This is not available for public view yet, but this is the information gathering event here. We'll probably also have a QR code here if people wanted to donate via the website as well to the Recreation Association. I'm not sure if there's anything else I have. So that's the plan, and obviously it's contingent on approval of the entertainment license, approval of the 1-day liquor license, and approval by the facility request over to the school district.
Good. I guess my question is, why are we having it now instead of keeping the Fall Fest thing going, which is very similar?
So, it's not similar at all.
No, they had food trucks, they had vendors, I thought this would be a normal, look at what we have here. Hey, that Fall Fest was great, why don't we throw some entertainment on it too?
Why not create more events for the community to be involved? And I think that we rely too much on Fall Fest as our one event that we do for the residents in town. So I think it would be nice to have something to kick off the summer to celebrate the end of school. The kids get out of school, I believe, the day before. So it's just trying to bring more to the community, more events to the community.
Is the band gonna be paid?
Yes.
Is the police gonna be paid over to their thing? And who else you got there?
Well, it's not just overtime, Don. It's Juneteenth, so it's triple time. They get paid for the holiday plus twice for coming, double time for coming in.
Okay.
Just saying.
So I'm asking, do you think you're gonna make money on it?
No, it's not a money-making event. Well, so, yeah, we have to pay all these things. We, myself and the board, we're okay with not making money on this. We're only accepting donation. This is more of an event for the community to come. We're only doing, accepting donations to defray some of the costs.
Is the ROB board paying for it, or is the Parks and Rec paying for it?
The ROB board will be paying for, Parks and Rec will be paying for it. Yes, Parks and Rec will be paying for it.
Right, because you can't accept the donations.
Right.
Parks and Rec can, only ROC can.
Only ROC can,
Yep.
right.
So it'll be coming out of our revolving account as an event or program for us, and then we'll be reimbursed by any donations that come into the ROC.
No, ROC can't send you money. ROC cannot give the Parks and Rec board money. ROC can pay for things directly. They cannot transfer money to Park and Rec.
Oh, that's news to me.
No, for somebody who was president of RA and my wife was chairman of the Parks and Rec board, that's how it is.
Oh,
So-
maybe it's something we can look at,
Yeah,
working something out.
I'm saying, no, there's a separation, just like Don was saying, they can donate to Rob. They cannot donate to you.
Okay.
That's why you have friends of boards, you have friends of the seniors, friends of the library, friends of,
Then how do
Things like
we
that.
get money from them to do things?
you sell,
Rock can pay for it.
right, pay them directly. They can't give you money to pay them.
Can I pay the Rob back? Then we're just talking semantics. If Rob pays the money and I pay them back from the Parks and Rec account, then it's just,
Well, you're
doesn't
gonna,
matter, we can do it that way. but-
you're
Well, you can't pay 'em
pay,
back.
you're gonna pay the police.
Right.
And you're gonna pay the,
Right.
I don't know, what else?
The band? I don't
The
know.
band, you're gonna pay the police and the band,
Yep.
out of your revolving account,
That was the plan, yeah,
Right,
which you can do, because that money comes in
from programs. that we've
for
never-
programs.
if that's part of the definition of the revolving fund, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And the beer garden is just there, and the person who runs the beer garden gets the profits?
No, they are donating, well, they will get some profits to probably cover their costs. They are donating a portion of their proceeds to the Rob.
Okay.
Nice.
And they've also said that they would hire the security detail in addition to the Hampden PD, but they would hire their own security detail to make sure that that was properly observed or, put in place.
Okay, and they're gonna do, I mean, from reading what he sent, they're gonna do the wristband.
Yeah, and special cups as well.
Very similar to the Fourth of July Carnival.
Yeah, I haven't
Similar.
been to that in East Long, that's what he does, the East Long Meadow one.
Yeah, it used to be part of the
I was thi-
JCs over there back
I
in
was
the day.
thinking the Lollapalooza concert I went to in '83.
Oh, why, weren't you at Burning Man, Don, this
I
year?
didn't go to Burning Man, but there've been a few Lollapaloozas.
Yeah, I'm sure.
John Sullivan, who's.
Have that at Woodstock.
We didn't have that at Woodstock, no.
Which one?
So the first thing you gotta do is get permission from
For the second one.
the school, right?
Yeah, well, I think, so I haven't reached out to them about the liquor license, of course. I think that the steps are to get your approval on the entertainment license first. If I don't get that, then there's no sense in going any further with that. I think then it would be for John to get the approval of the liquor license from you guys, because there's no sense in reaching out to them if that's not gonna happen as well. So they're kind of my last step as far as talking about, I've reserved a facility with them, but they're my last step in approaching them about the beer wine garden.
Well, I think personally, the entertainment part's the easy part.
Yeah,
The easy part. I think the question raised about, on June 19th, the property is under the charge of, it's still covered by the lease.
School, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that is definitely the area that will have to be figured out.
Right, and,
I'll have to discuss with them and see what they're willing to do, if they're willing to do it, or,
yeah, and certainly we've never had a history of allowing alcoholic sales on either town or school property that I can recall. So that might be a question, that's a question to mull over. Yeah.
what's that, say that again?
I said, we've never allowed liquor sales on school or town property that I can recall.
Okay,
Yeah, certainly not school.
Can I ask how many applications you received for that, though?
I don't think we've had an application because it's known that we don't. People say, can I have a retirement thing or a celebration of life at the town hall?
Yeah.
Yes, but you won't get a liquor license. Oh, well, we'll go somewhere else.
When you say that you don't allow liquor sales on town property, how does the senior center fold into that? I know they have a liquor license that they get quite a few times a year for events there. That's town property.
Yeah.
What about that?
Typically that for those things. I know that, for instance, Mr. Sullivan said he worked with the senior center, and I called over, they'd never heard of him. So, but it
That's
probably.
not my question.
I understand that, so I think that's part of the consideration the board's gonna have, is that where we wanna go with this? Starting down that road.
Craig, do you have any comment? Are you still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Hopefully I'm not glitching out anymore.
Go ahead.
Well, first, I think any community building event we have is awesome, and I think it's a great idea to have that event there outside of the Fall Fest. Secondly, I'm indifferent to the liquor permit at the moment. I know it falls under the school jurisdiction, so that's where I have some questions. I would also have some safety and logistics questions with the liquor permit. I guess my question for you, Dan, is is the liquor permit contingent on the whole premises of the idea, or if you have the entertainment permit, can you still go forward in that aspect?
Yeah, no, I would still go forward without the beer and wine garden. I just think that it's a unique thing that we've never done before. Parks and Rec struggles to get residents to do things. I think Hampden falls into this is how we've done it for 50 years, and so that's the way we're gonna continue to do it. And I'm not of that mindset. I'm an innovator that wants to try new things and get more community involvement. And I think that's really where we struggle, from Parks and Rec perspective, to get people to come out to events, to come do things, to try new things. So that's the reason for the beer garden, is I think it's a really cool thing for a dad to be able to have a beer while he's sitting there having a picnic and listening to some music with his family, while his kids are off running around playing sports, playing with their friends, all together in one community location.
Kind of like the Fern Valley thing they're having during the summer, same thing.
Dan, I got one other thing, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Dan, would you be opposed to writing up like a safety plan as far as the alcohol consumption would go? I know you talked, the vendor had some hired security and stuff, but maybe if you presented the board with some type of contingency for safety, that it might, go in favor. Not saying it would, I'm just saying, the little bit it would help,
I will say that, Dan, I think the resume Mr. Sullivan had is impressive.
Yeah.
He has a lot of background in this type of event.
Thank you.
And what he said,
I'll second that. I have no problem doing that, Craig. That would be a discussion that I would have with Mr. Sullivan. He has done, like John said, he has done this, he does the 4th of July celebration where he hosts a beer garden in East Longmeadow. He's done this quite a few times. He owns multiple bars. He is very involved with the community. He's involved with the Above the Influence group at Minnetonka. So he is aware of the safety issues that need to be. We've had a quick discussion about safety and him bringing in security staff to make sure that safety is a paramount to the event. And I'm happy to have more discussions with him and iron out more details and get you more of a specific plan. But I don't remember. I read his proposal to you. I don't remember how detailed it was on the security detail, but I can certainly get more information and come to you with that. That's not a problem at all.
I don't recall reading on the forums any issues in East Longmeadow in the beer garden the past couple of years, so I think he runs that pretty well. Okay. One other concern, Don, you brought this up in regard to town meeting, that the lighting isn't great late at the park, so at the school, so that might be something to consider. We had highway.
I think it's almost the longest day of the year, I think.
It could be, but it could be. I'm just saying that, man, maybe we've got people, tight parking, stuff like that. So something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. We are trying to keep this as easy as possible. I'm not trying to make this into a huge headache for the residents, for you guys, for the Parks and Rec Department. I'm just trying to make a quick, easy community event that the town can enjoy. So,
Guys, there was a question from Zoom asking about the date, and could it be on 4th of July so that fireworks could be included?
I don't know if the band is available on the 4th of July. I know that they are very busy. The band had this day available. We talked about multiple dates. This was the only one that they could do. It happens to be Juneteenth. I'll acknowledge that as I address the crowd before the concert starts. It's not a Juneteenth celebration, but I will acknowledge the day for sure. But yeah, I've discussed with the band, we've hammered out this date. I don't think we're gonna be moving it to the busiest weekend for a lot of families in the summertime, so.
I wonder if they're gonna allow as many fireworks as, we're already started into high drought. I wouldn't be surprised if the state, as an advisory, saying cut it back. Yeah.
The first thing you need is an entertainment license.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion for an
Do we have it?
Do we have
Just
it?
gave me the application today, so it wasn't on the agenda. I didn't know if we wanted to wait until we
Yeah.
tax the district and figure out the alcohol part too, or,
Well, he needs the
I
entertainment.
don't have the entertainment
If we don't
license
give the
ready, but
entertainment license, there's no
Filled out.
point.
Right,
Right,
exactly.
but it's not on the agenda, like what Lauren's saying, but
Yeah.
the application. I should-
this is like, you were giving us an overview tonight, basically, right?
Yeah, I wanted to get that to her
Sure.
today in case you had reviewed it, but that's fine. I don't mind waiting.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
What kind of rock band is this going to be?
They play like classic rock, blues, summertime, like country rock. They play a lot of things. They're a cover band, obviously.
So this isn't a hard rock or punk rock or metal, heavy metal.
Sorry,
The bad,
Connie.
the
sorry,
bad thing is,
no.
Connie, the definition of classic rock has slid from my.
No, Connie, it's.
Well, I'm just thinking about the kinds of crowds. I mean, different kinds of rock attract different kinds of crowds.
I think you're looking at the typical crowd right here, Dan, right?
Well,
Our age, this age?
so Dale definitely has a band following that will be coming out to the show, but I mean, if I'm being honest, it's probably people that are 40 to 60 years old that enjoy
Raise your hand.
classic rock.
All the young people.
We found that they played for the Veterans Association as a fundraiser for the Veterans Cemetery.
Sure.
So, you know, it was well received with the group that they performed for.
Yeah, I mean, they play a lot of different
Oh,
songs.
yeah. I know Dale well, he's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
And if anything happens, he is a justice of the peace, if anybody feels motivated that
If
night.
anybody wants to do their nuptials on site,
Exactly.
there's something else on?
No. Bring him in next week.
We'll defer this to next week.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you.
So thank you.
Okay.
And good job on the master plan part.
The next item on the agenda is the VFW event discussion.
Got a band? No, just asking.
Oh, you gotta see if they're available first. Need that as an option, definitely.
All right.
The background, if I could, Don.
Yep.
Background is a typical request for a one-day license from the VFW, where they use the pavilion to serve alcohol, which is not covered under their general license. That's come to the board a number of times. Typically, in the past, the board has not entertained, if you will, graduation parties, because we've always been concerned about the fact, well, the age is 21, you've got an 18-year-old graduation party, how's that look? But I said, Dan, maybe we don't need to keep things going the way they've always been.
Oh, music to my ears.
I knew, that's why I want to make sure you're paying attention. So I said, you know, maybe it's time to revisit this. And we haven't had a chance to have them come in and talk about what they have in place, because we're making an assumption. And we've never had a report of an incident there. Even the turkey shoots, they haven't hit a turkey in years. I mean, it's just, everyone's been safe. So before you start, can we get a little update on basically what happens?
Absolutely. So we set up a bar over, we set up a bar.
No, you are, I'm just.
Oh, my name is Laura Grimaldi.
Hi, Laura.
I'm the manager at the VFW. in
Longtime manager.
Since 2002. I've worked there since 1996. All of my bartenders are tip certified. Generally, when we have a pavilion, there's a few of the members around, especially if there's, you know, we think there's gonna be kids around, always keeping an eye. The contract that they sign states that they cannot go from the bar to the pavilion, from the pavilion to the bar with alcohol. There is no alcohol in the parking lot. If we see that, we call them in. If I see anybody that has brought their own alcohol, and I can probably count on one hand the number of times it's happened, I immediately take it away and I dump it out. And that's, you get one shot. If I find it again, your party's done. Like I said, we've had no issues. We've had no issues in a long time. Kids, you know, because I know we did, I think Keith or somebody brought this up in the beginning of the year, because I do get quite a few calls for graduation parties, and I always say college or high school, and if they say high school, I say I'm sorry. You know, I'll get a request for a family reunion, and I don't know when they're bringing their family, if there's gonna be 18-year-olds. I don't know. Generally, when there's a lot of kids, I do have the liquor distributors will give me the bracelets, so my bartender will only have to card one time. They don't have to keep carding and keep carding. And if it, you know, and then we just keep an eye on them the best we can. And 9 times out of 10, you know, the parents are there for, and in my experience, even with the college graduations I have, my experience is, it's usually family oriented. It's not, hey, invite all your high school friends to this party. You know, all the high school kids have a core group of small kids, so there may be five or six kids.
The one issue I've heard, and I called around other communities to see what they do, they said the serving is not the issue they typically have. It's the unguarded drinks. That's where they see the problem. They don't see kids going up and trying to sneak one from the bartender. They see them going around the table and, you know, Uncle Bob left his beer and they grabbed it. So if you have personnel in place, like, I mean, you've got potentially, you said up to 50, 60 people, Paul?
About that, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if you've got a pretty good number of people on the riverside, basically,
Yeah.
then that's what we're looking for. Like I say, the partnership with the VFW has been fantastic over the years. So I think it's time to maybe make a little change in the way we do it and open up a bit and trust you for it. So.
And while I've got the floor, I'd also like to mention to you, if this doesn't fall through, you're welcome to use our facility for any type of fundraiser. We'd be happy to have you. Obviously not, it wouldn't be the family part so much. But if you wanted to do some kind of fundraiser, you know, we're happy to partner.
No shooting, no shooting.
With that,
no
yeah, we
shooting.
won't do it on a turkey shoot day.
So I just wanted Don to give that. I want to give a brief overview of why they're here and where we're going with this.
That was very nice.
Well, thank you, Don. Thank you.
Craig?
Yeah, I don't have an issue with it, as, you know, if you're serving alcohol
Yes,
indoors
Tony?
or outdoors, so, I mean, I'm okay with it.
He's talking.
Can you not hear me now?
Is he on mute?
No, he's been having connection issues.
Hang on, keep going down again.
Test, test, test.
There you go,
Yeah.
okay.
You got me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
There must be a delay from when I unmute to when I actually talk, so, but I don't have an issue with it. I think, you know, if you're serving alcohol indoors or outdoors, the pavilion is technically part of the facility to me, so I don't have a problem.
Okay.
and how many people are you expecting?
We have about 55, 60 people invited, of which 15 of which are between the ages of 2 and 18. I think 6 or 7 are 13 to 18, just to give you an idea.
But that's the invite list, you don't know. It
That's the
could be,
invite
yeah,
list, I
right.
can't,
You never know,
we
right.
haven't gotten that far yet. But none of the children are invited without their families. I don't know if that makes a difference. It's very much a family party.
On June 22nd, they'll be looking for another party after the big event. So I'll make a motion to
So now
grant
that
the request.
now that you've gone liberal on me, go ahead and make your motion.
You're like, I don't even know you anymore. Make a motion to grant the one-day liquor license for the pavilion at the VFW on June 22nd, and the time was what, Lauren? Is there a form here?
What time?
I was looking at early afternoon, like,
Yeah, I haven't formally put in a request for it yet.
Oh, I see.
So over by what time do you think?
I don't see it going past 6 o'clock
Oh.
latest.
We should be able to fish them out of the river pretty easy by then.
Yeah, I'd like.
So 12 to,
We're going to the concert, man, what are you talking about?
12 to 6?
You know, we just
Yeah,
gotta feed them,
in that
get them
time
ready.
All right, fine.
warm 'em up.
Yeah,
Okay, so she hasn't submitted the license yet.
Right.
I haven't.
for the license,
Okay.
like when you do that, do you need an exact time?
Generally, because I don't always have an exact time, they generally do 12 to 12. So that, because sometimes I request them and the people really haven't set their party time yet.
That would be appreciated.
Because of the
This
show,
particular one, I would do 1 to 7.
Yeah, that's fine, it's a Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon, we're not
Sunday
there at
afternoon, as
midnight.
long as you're there after church and you're home in time, right?
Gotta go to the concert, don't forget.
No, that's before that, that's before that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
From, all right, so a one-day permit for the pavilion on June 22nd from 1 PM to 7 PM.
Contingent upon them filing the
Form,
form.
yeah.
I wanted to do this and
Yeah.
I will email you all
Yeah,
my
I'll
requests
text
because I do have several tomorrow.
Any second? Okay.
That could have been a second. It was a
Could have been a
good, it was a, yeah.
Any further discussion?
Second, third.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Paul, you
I
had,
just want to make a comment. Dan, I just want to applaud you for that effort. And I know it seems a little biased right now, given our current situation, but I think that the town should support that more. You know, having the opportunity to do something in your own backyard, the way Dan is foreshadowing that, I mean, support that, that's great. We should support that a little bit more. By giving the flexibility with having people, adults, respectively, cocktail, it really helps make it come to fruition. So thank you guys for that.
okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Next item on the agenda is we're meeting with the advisory committee to go over some budgetary items as we approach the town meeting.
Y'all can stay, it's exciting.
No.
What?
Everybody can stay, it's exciting.
You
Wow,
have to
we got
go.
the full committee.
Is it something we
We
said?
are outnumbered.
Or something, is it something we said? They're all leaving.
People usually flee the advisory meetings,
We feel outnumbered.
usually run away.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
We usually keep them at a distance.
Sandra, is it almost time for the TV thing? When is that?
The 25th of
May?
Do we need any extra copies?
Okay. What are you doing?
I'm sending you a message privately so no one will see it now. What do you think I'm doing? So,
Go ahead. We have several issues we'd like to discuss.
And here we are.
all right, do you want to call yourselves to order or just,
No, we don't,
you know, stay in a formality?
yeah, we meet and then we disband.
Just like that? Well, thank you for coming in tonight.
Yeah.
Don't put that in the minutes, okay?
How do you go about amending line items?
From the floor.
Yeah.
So when the moderator says, okay, accountant, you know how he does it, accountants total 88,184, someone has to stand up and say, I move we lower the amount to $10, right? Or we lower the amount to $50,000.
Then what we have to do is we have to flow that through and change all of the.
But do you do the
Yes, the
specific
vote
line?
amendment, and, yeah.
You do the specific line, like line 1.1 or 1 point?
Yeah, and then obviously the total numbers at each end of each category are amended
You have
as
to,
well.
and then when we vote on that, right?
So frankly, we like to avoid amending the line items to the extent that we can, because it creates a lot of confusion, especially if the amendment is early on in the budget, because then we have to amend all the way through.
I get some math work.
So did you have some specific line item?
Brent?
We do, we do.
Well, first, could we talk about why, because Brian came up with a bit of a spreadsheet showing a potential for, that's why we're looking to see where we could, you know, do some savings perhaps.
We're looking for
Brian.
savings.
Basically, Brian showed that potentially this could be a pretty impactful year on the average tax bill. And Brian, your number was in the potentially over 7% at least, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, with the warrant articles as presented.
yeah, there's certain assumptions
On-
baked in there, but.
On the expense side, the budget, you know, the budget requests are up over 7%. Doesn't follow that, you know, that the tax rate will go up 7%. I mean, that's a separate discussion,
Yeah.
but clearly impactful, no question.
No, he had it down, that was the tax rate going up that bad.
Okay.
So we wanted to see if we could get together with you all, look at places where, even though we think, obviously, all these are very justified, sometimes it's not the right year. Sometimes you have to make cold decisions.
Let's hear what you have in mind and take a look at them.
Well, I think advisory expenses are just way out of sight.
We keep
Well,
speaking to them.
the one thing, you want to start, or?
Sure.
Go ahead, maybe we'll go start at the bottom and or go through and,
Yeah, okay, so the first thing I was thinking about was the county retirement.
So 6.0?
Yep, 6.0. All right, we always pay that in time. And so if we paid it on time this year and just made that amount, $916,000, we could save $10,000, take $10,000 out there.
Yeah.
We paid that discounted figure for years.
Years.
But we generally put in
The actual assessment, right?
so that knowing that that's going to create a free cash, at the end of the year. So, to a certain extent, it's building in a little flexibility at the end of the year.
All right, that's one item I had. Insurance and property and liability. We had checked with the insurance company today, and what can they do? What was that?
I think I would be comfortable with a number closer to 225,000, based on the information we got today. Because there's about, even now, at the end of the fiscal year, there's about, what is there, 20-something thousand dollars?
26,000 left in there.
And typically, those expenses are paid at the beginning of the fiscal year.
So we're thinking going down to 225 on that.
So that's 13K.
Yeah, that's 13K. This will, of course, we all put into the Selectboard salary account.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with reducing long claims as well. I think we've gotten past the large things that were on our plate in the past couple of years. We started at 90, we came down to 75. I think we could certainly do another 10 off of that and still be covered. If something comes up, that's what the reserve account is for.
Which number is that?
Go down to 65. Next one down.
0.1.
Yeah.
Want to go down to 65?
Yeah.
So another 10K.
Okay. Register of voters, selectmen. Okay, town meeting support at 12.9. Right? We were thinking of budgeting just for one town meeting. You know, for the AV, the fall town meeting, 8,500. And then, keeping an eye on the selectmen's expense account for the
Annual.
For the annual, if we need to, do that.
So reduce that in half.
Yeah, yeah, 8,500. 8,500.
Now, Brian, I know you said we had there was an offer, if we book two things, we got a discount. Does this affect that?
Right.
Yeah, but it's gonna be within a couple of $100 is all, right?
They just said they would hold this year's pricing.
If we
Carry
book,
this year's pricing over to next year. I don't know what the difference would be.
Well, tell them we're gonna do it, and then we can cancel it if we do it.
now, another heads up on that, Doug, just because they are booked for the town meeting in May, which is not in our budget at this point. We probably would have to ask you for a reserve fund to pay for the AV in May.
If we don't have the,
We're over on selection expense now.
yeah, but that's because we paid for the fall.
Right, so no, you pay for May.
No, we paid for the last year's election.
Yeah,
So we're over now.
right, so we don't
But
have
if
any
we
money
get
for the rest of the year.
for the rest of the year. But if we get the 8,500 in July, that's October, and then we still
Right,
have
but we
20,000.
won't, right, but we won't have any money to pay for next month's in May.
You're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about this year.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, so
okay.
we probably hit a reserve for that, yeah.
Okay, all right, you're talking about.
We had some discussion about that, and our sense was, it's a lot of money, town meeting. But we also thought that the quality of the audio and
Was
the
excellent.
video was unmatched. We've never had anything close to it.
Right.
No,
So if we're going to do it, we have to do it correctly.
well, if you went up to their area in the corner there, it was like walking up to a concert, the equipment they had there, incredible.
So we'd like to go to 80, if we said we'd go to 8,500 and go from there.
Okay.
Veterans, benefit, town administrator, what else you got, conservation commission,
Right before town meeting support was suspended.
what?
The one right before town meeting support was suspended.
Oh, yeah, stormwater management,
Oh, yeah.
12.8,
50K.
they're talking 32 now. Ty
Yeah, I
Bond's
think
talking 32,
Be
and
comfortable
we're
with
thinking,
35.
and they said it might be a little bit different, but we're thinking 35.
Right.
lowering that from 50 to 35.
If you remember, John, that was gonna be sliding down every year as things were done anyhow, yeah. The other choice we have is, progress is pretty good on the transfer station part. I think a potential there is that we had talked about dropping that down because we were having people hooked up.
23?
Yeah, 23.0. I think we could be comfortable with, by the time everybody's hooked up this year, comfortable going down to 75 or 80 on that. 80.
80.
You want to go to 80?
Yep.
I can see Doug now with, I move.
And I may be out of town and may go.
Yeah.
As long as you're back for June 19th, that's all we care about.
Juneteenth, that's it. Just the building repairs, that's out of there now.
It's nothing.
Would it be easier to amend during the fall,
Well,
maybe?
that's the thought I'm saving to the end here.
All right, sorry,
Yeah,
spoiler alert.
yeah.
What? Uh-oh.
It may be easier to let the numbers flow, and then in the fall, we can, between we can do a revision of whatever numbers.
And do the reconciliation then, basically?
Because this was gonna be chaos.
As
The
long as you
entire
have,
town meeting is gonna be saying, what line's that, what number's that, how much?
as long as you have your special town meeting before you set the tax rate.
Yeah, which frankly, we have become so dependent upon that.
Okay, we got nothing, okay.
Well, I do think 33.0, 32.0, I think heat and utilities is going to be coming down quite a bit. Obviously, we're not in here. And you guys probably talked about that, not that we have a sense of it,
But we're also gonna be paying for TWB.
but not under this line. I wouldn't think.
Where is it gonna be?
I don't know,
Yeah, I
but
think it was in there.
It was in there.
that one, yeah.
We actually had discussion about
Power naming it?
configuring that, because townhouse maintenance is also where the facilities manager was put.
Yeah.
You know, the facilities manager isn't limited to the townhouse, it's to all town properties, so we had discussions about both facilities director, facilities manager, and the utilities issue, and our understanding is that utilities are both buildings.
Well, I think the problem then, if you're saying townhouse maintenance is now inclusive of both building expenses, just a heads up, I don't think custodial is even going to be close to the number you truly need. If we were seeing a charge of 11,000 for this building on an annual basis, we don't have custodial
Right.
per se for a Thornton Burgess building anywhere.
So did you include that anywhere else?
No.
Yeah, well, in my way of thinking, it was a facilities manager / head custodian, so
That's
that,
what I thought.
You had
so the head
said that,
custodian
Yeah.
would supplement some of that custodial work.
and we had,
Which is,
we had cut that in half pretty much. Well,
Right, 40K.
40K.
I think you would need 40K just for the custodial part, let alone facilities.
Well, you're gonna have 11 anyway, right? Because that's what you paid here.
Something's gonna be here, obviously do some work here, but yeah, nothing like we're.
Nothing.
Right.
You're not gonna be, really very little, if anything, here.
The funny thing is, the other buildings, the highway department, the fire department, they do their own. The people up there volunteer, do all their custodial work, clean the bathrooms, et cetera.
Right. So what was, I'm gonna say, the vision of custodial services for Thornton Burgess? And we don't have to talk about it now. That's one of the things.
You know, assuming that the vote is to approve the move to TWB, it's gonna take a year or two of experience
Oh, yeah.
to get a better handle on it.
Figure out what's going on.
These are the best estimate that we can come up with.
That's the industry, the senior center, start looking at the superintendent salary.
I'm impressed by many of the departments that really didn't go up, especially look at highway.
Well, they worked hard.
Besides the contractual raises. Equipment, nothing. And you go back to the paving thing, they lose money on that. As the cost of good goes up, they do less with the money they've got, so.
And just as an aside, there's some, well, I don't know what the regulatory environment will be over the next couple of years, but there's concerns that as there's a more push towards EV for heavy-duty vehicles, that cost is going to get passed on to the municipalities when we have to pave roads, because now they're going to have to cover costs for, replacing their fleet, and all that's going to get passed on. So it's likely to even get more expensive as we move forward, so.
And we're hoping that goes away.
Less expensive.
Yes.
Well, short term.
It'd be nice they pave roads and nobody would be able to afford cars to drive on.
No, it's the truck.
The cost of the truck.
The truck, there is no vehicle, or heavy vehicle, that is right now approved. So.
So that cost will get us even less mile per dollar in terms of what we can pave.
Yes.
So we go back to dirt.
To your point, John, I mean, all the department heads met with us, some cases more than once, very responsive to any questions that we had, any requests that we had. Which is why, with the exception of the facilities manager, essentially all the requests as submitted are recommended.
Right.
Because the requested numbers are essentially numbers that we've worked with the department heads on. So, we're not taking a number in and then just slashing them to say, well, we saved X number of dollars.
And we're not saying that. We said, based on what Brian had shared with us, it's going to be a very difficult year.
Oh.
Is there a look back availability? And I think your point there, yes, there is, but let's do that in the fall when we've had a bit of a chance for the dust to settle. We see what free cash is, things like that.
Let's see what comes, let's see what comes through with the state budget. Let's see what happens.
Will they have a budget? No, yeah.
Maybe by August.
Maybe.
Let's see what happens on the school side. They still have their budget numbers and their negotiations underway. We're facing whatever's going to happen with the firehouse, whatever's going to happen with this building. The expenses are going to continue for the foreseeable future, and there's no reason to think that any of these expenses are going to go down.
Right.
So there's no gain to delaying or deferring these expenses. They're necessary expenses, and we're going to have to pay for them. It's going to be a juggling in the fall as we go through our, the balancing, the application of free cash, stabilization, and what we aim at as a target. There's going to be a tax increase that's more than typically what we've seen, but there's nothing typical about the circumstances that the town's in right now.
Okay, the only other thing I had in the general budget was, I have a question about, in the police department, basically the SRO, but I don't think it's fair to talk about that without having a chance to discuss it with the chief first. So just to share, that's something I'd like to invite Scott to one of our meetings, have the discussion with him, and then potentially there might be a savings involved in that, if that happens.
You're talking the SRO for the high school?
No, for Green Meadows.
Meadows.
Yeah.
Okay, because high school.
That's all set, but right.
Abraham, and that seems to be working fine.
Right, but again, it's, Scott's department, I'd like a chance to discuss it with him next week before we do something with that.
But, no, I mean, we, certainly appreciate this, and it's nice to hear some of these numbers likely to be going down, because we didn't hear much of that through this budget process. So, we're posted for 6 o'clock on the 12th, so we will meet in advance.
Okay.
We'll have more discussion about these and, make a decision about whether to hold these revisions for the fall, or whether to make certain revisions at this town meeting.
Want to go through the warrant articles now?
Only if there's reductions.
Well, so typically, the board we would come up with our recommendation, we'd vote on how we feel about different warrant articles. And this is an opportunity for us to take that vote and share with you where we stand on some of them.
Okay.
So,
Mostly it's the
Article,
monetary ones.
Article 9. Okay? I think we should take no action on that. That's $10,000, take no action, because we've got money in the account now. We really need to form a committee and see what they want to go and how extensive they want the celebration to be, and then we still have 2 years to put money in.
Right.
You know, and plus, it's, in a lot of these situations, they form 501Cs so that they can get donations from businesses and stuff like that, so I think, I would recommend that we defer that this time.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean,
I'm fine with it.
there's enough lead time on it.
Basically, it is our motion, so we're leaning towards move to take no action. So,
Is Greg still on?
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Greg?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. You got me? I think that's fair to defer.
Okay. All right. What else we got here?
what purpose, moving costs, I think Brian's detailed that, there's not much we can do with that.
Yeah, that's likely a not to exceed cost.
That's on 14.
Yeah, Article 14.
14. 15 is the repairs. How much we gonna put in for there?
We
We originally discussed 100,000.
We brought it down to 80, didn't we? Didn't you bring it down to 80 or
I
no?
mean, you guys had talked anywhere from 50 to,
We have 100.
Yeah.
They have 100 still. We're bringing down to 75.
No, on 14, we have 80, on 15, we have 100.
Okay, it was 80, the other one.
oh, I'm sorry,
I think-
costs are 80, yes.
On the run of, because we still have the 100,000.
That's what was
And we have
presented.
the 15, that we, if we get it done between now and June, we can do something, do 3 tiles or something. So where you wanna go?
Article 15, you want to go to where?
So you're rolling the two things together, you'll have, if you brought the 75, you would have roughly $170,000 to
Right.
do the work.
Right,
Will that
And we still-
accomplish what we need to do in the first year?
I think it will. And
Right.
plus, we have the special town meeting, if something comes up that we say, gee, we need, 25 more. So 75?
Again, that's our motion, so we're letting you know,
Go in the right direction.
right, we're gonna make our motion for 75 instead of 100.
Greg,
On Article 14.
15.
Okay.
what do you think?
I'm in agreement.
Okay, thank you.
It keeps going down.
This is lawnmower for the highway department.
It is what it is, the old one's falling apart.
I
Mark gave us a number of 20 on that.
Okay, as you know, I've been a big proponent of purchasing a herd of goats, but that's fine. We'll go with
He
the
happens,
lawnmower.
he happens to own a herd of goats that he's willing to rent.
I'll rent them to you, a herd of goats to do instead of lawn mowing, All right, Parks and Rec, the lawnmower for Parks and Rec. It's your topic.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's on here, I mean, that's one of the things where, is it the year for it? Do we get by with the plan that was established several years ago and just see how it goes? Again, we're still exploring where we are with Thornton Burgess. We don't know. So maybe that's one of the things we find out how it goes in the first year. And then if it really was inconvenient, we get them a mower and figure out where to keep it there. Maybe not jump on everything in the first 2 months.
Yeah, we had a fair amount of discussion about it. I mean, it's not a huge item, but the discussion we had was that there is no mower right there now. The school department took the mower with them. The highway department's gonna be responsible for the perimeter, and the Parks and Rec is gonna be responsible for playing fields.
Perhaps. That was not something the board decided.
Well, this is our understanding.
Right.
This is what our recommendation is made based upon.
Right.
So there's going to have to be a mower, either there or trailered there.
Right.
Parks and Rec has the mower down at the rec. They have the truck, they have the trailer. Dan was pretty insistent that a mower was necessary because it's gonna during the season, it's gonna require, regular mowing. Our sense was that the truck and the trailer were originally acquired for trailering a mower from the rec over to TWB. But if Parks and Rec wants to now maintain a mower over there, then perhaps the time has come to relinquish the truck and the costs associated with it. And whatever they do with the truck, and our understanding was it's essentially going up to Home Depot and occasionally getting supplies like mulch and whatnot. That can be accomplished through delivery costs and through reimbursing mileage to the people that are driving personal vehicles.
There will be, so if I can just speak on this, there'll be a lot of reimbursement for travel from my end of things. I mean, I use my personal truck for everything Parks and Rec. My personal vehicle all day long, driving to facilities, going back and forth, getting equipment. There'll be a lot of mileage I will be submitting.
Okay, so if they're keeping the truck, all I'm saying is why don't we just let it go for a year, see how it works out. We haven't determined how much of the property Mark is gonna be mowing yet. We haven't determined. That comes to us. And maybe it's something, look, if we see in the fall it not gonna work out, maybe it's something for the fall warrant at this point. But an opportunity, okay, if we're gonna bring the number down a little bit right now, this is where we are, those type of things. Again, it's not our motion, it's their motion, they're gonna make it.
Right.
We're saying from our standpoint, this might be one we must say, can we take a pause 6 months and see where we stand?
No, I appreciate that, but this kind of falls into that category of expenses that aren't going away. We delayed buying the Kubota and it cost us $10,000. So a delay on this with what's going on in the national and international economy, what's a delay gonna cost us? I don't know. It's not gonna go down.
No, it's not, but again, we have a system in place right now, and we don't know if that's maintainable, so.
Can I just ask a question? I'd like to ask them why the highway mower is just rubber stamped versus our, what?
You're adding a mower.
What's that?
You're adding a mower, they're replacing a mower.
Is there more functional right now? Is it running?
Barely, I think same thing we did with the tractor 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
They could have brought it to the town meeting, except it wouldn't run to get over there.
Mark had the hours on that tractor, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's basically end of life for an existing piece of equipment.
Anyhow, that's from our standpoint. Again, it's a park and rec, and they're entitled to make their case.
Yeah.
Senior center, this is one I put on there. This is, and this is me speaking. I've spoken to Gary. The committee, senior, has not spoken yet. Something to bring up. Is there anything we can do with that budget? We have four things really, John, right?
Correct.
Septic, bathrooms, roof, and windows. The most critical is the windows and the bathrooms and the septic, which is a pretty minor number. I said, can the roof go another year? Yes. It's not running water in. The windows are more important. You have heat loss, you have cooling loss, things like that. Could this be split over 2 years? It could, without disrupting the whole thing of it. It would take that 230 cost and pretty much cut it in half, roughly. If that's the direction our board wants to go, Gary was going to call a meeting in the Senior Center Building Committee for Monday, see how they feel on it first. Obviously, we don't want to go forward without their support. But I think it's a reasonable recommendation that this would be a cost. You're saying we're just pushing it off? Yes, we are. But there are other potential things. We've also talked in the past, you get 100 advertisements for firms that are looking to put your roof on with some solar, and they'll do that roof for free. I get them all the time. I get them at my company all the time. Maybe that's something more to investigate and really make that cost almost zero. We see it at homes. I see it in businesses. You probably have used some with some of the parking things like that where they will build a structure along and they put panels on top. So that gives us a year to look at that type of thing.
I think that's worth it looking at for sure.
So, but again, this is going to the Senior Center Building Committee. Gary's gonna call me for Monday, and we're dependent on them endorsing it, basically. They put all the time and they've lived it, so.
So,
John, you're hearing it for the first time in one,
yeah, that's okay. So you would entertain it for the following year.
Yes. And if, like I say, the committee does some work and finds someone,
Well, there's
I know we've seen them everywhere, it brings it down a bit.
also another issue that, at the senior center was the lighting, and we had, I think, Brian, you had the contractor. or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yep,
Yep.
so we can maybe broach that
Sure.
with the roof and maybe the light.
There you go, exactly. Again, energy savings, and see what programs are out there, yeah.
So basically the possibility of taking the project and splitting it into part A and part B.
Right, so it would drop from 230 down to 110, 100. The roof was the bigger part of it, so it could be 110 instead.
Yeah.
But again, that'll be Monday, you'll know more.
That makes sense.
When does the warranty on the senior center roof expire?
But what?
2 years ago? Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, okay. Typically, they're 20-year roofs.
Well, sometimes they're 20, 25, and 30, and that's why I was wondering, because that was, what, 2000?
I have to tell 2002, but I have to tell you, it's funny, and Don remembers this, we go back to the roof at TWB, which was a 20-year roof bond. The roofing company went out of business, the bonding company went out of business, and that roof has been on there now for 40 years. And it's through the good efforts of the school department, the maintenance department there, that roof is in fabulous shape.
Extended.
Yeah,
And we just had 2 people up there who said, it's fine.
yeah, right. It's mostly membrane.
It's membrane, that's the key.
Specs for it.
Is there any issues with the senior center roof right now?
There are some tiles loose and stuff. There could be, you see things up, there's an overhead part, basically the heating system is up in the attic, John, but it's not like coming down into the base thing. I'm thinking the great room had a little something, John, or no?
To the best of my knowledge, it was not brought to my.
Yeah, so it's something we'll talk on Monday, but again, this is one, the windows are critical.
Okay.
The bathroom is critical, yeah, and the septic,
John, have you had a meeting, since I talked to Don Collins, who was going to call Gary?
He did call Gary. Gary and I spoke the other day. Gary was fertilizing his lawn, and I stopped to harass him, so. We did talk, and not a problem. We will take care of it.
To include the gutters, which are overflowing in the front now.
I think that's something, usually Mark
No
goes over there, yeah.
maintenance there. The
Mark.
roof is not going to last if the gutters aren't clean and working.
That was a good point, I need to get on mine, thank you.
I
Thank you.
need to get on my gutters.
And I know Mark comes up here, his crew comes and does the highway, or the town hall part as well, so we'll get on that.
Well, these are not exposed, these gutters aren't exposed, so
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to tell. But with the senior center, they were overflowing during a sprinkle.
Fire station, I think we had a new number of 8.3, Brian? Was it?
With the go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I agree. That's the email I saw.
Yeah,
That's with their 5% contingency.
with a reasonable, yeah,
That was
and that is what it is.
and that's a borrowing request,
Yeah.
the debt exclusion.
Has the board come up with a position on that yet?
No. Have we? No. No.
So,
But Article 20, we have a position.
so if I could, just a minute. On Article 19, I think it would be smart of us to at least let the people know, the residents know, how much it will impact their taxes, like they did for the senior center, okay? So we still don't have that number for this,
For the fire station, you mean?
the fire station.
We don't, and I just have to go back to what we were last year, John, with a $6 million number. We had a sense of how that would impact, and here we're talking something 30% higher.
Right, so, and again, I think you need to run those numbers. I would strongly recommend.
See if Dick can do something for us, yeah.
I've seen an email request from the fire department building committee to
Okay,
treasurer for those numbers. I've not seen them come back yet, though.
thank you.
Yep.
I defer to the chair.
Well, the Green Meadows flooring replacement was originally $30,000 until I should have kept my mouth shut. I pointed out that on July 1st, the capital expenditure was $35,000, which miraculously it went to 35,000. So I'm a no vote on that one. Only because I'm being a jerk.
Nobody said that on record.
Procedure aside, we look at it as doing work on town property that needs to be done. So it's really taking care of our property.
We have taken.
As much as it might annoy you.
We have taken care of our property, and over the last 11 years, we've spent $126,000 for school maintenance, which we didn't have to spend because it was, each time it was well under the $30,000 or $25,000 mark. And I made the request that I asked if Wilbraham had ever put in any extra money for their maintenance like that. And they said, no, they don't pay for anything. So
I would be willing to, going on with the chair, the town will pay the extra $5,000 for that one room, and let the school department pay for the original 30. How's that done?
Well, it's good. Well, no, because what they should pay is, we should pay 30,000, if it's 30,000, we should pay 6,000, and they should pay 24,000.
Right. But they were willing to do that. That's the point. You know, they had it in their budget to do it. And then when Don opened his mouth, usually good things happen, but this was not so good. So it just
You'll make your recommendation, you do think it's right. I just want to point out that you're gonna get a little pushback at town meeting.
And speaking for myself, and perhaps for the committee, is we generally view it as, we're all in this together. The rising tide raises all boats, so.
No, I would say for myself, if the original thing had come through and said 35,000, we want to do things, fine. Because it was obvious you were doing it that way. It's just the way it came about is a little unsettling. What'd you say?
Yeah.
If it originally been 35, we're doing the rooms, you pay for it, and next year there'll be another 35. and-
Fully appreciate that.
Yeah.
Setting that aside, looking at what's necessary, the sense was, this was
They
necessary.
need to be done, yeah.
You make your recommendation.
It was the process, yeah.
Okay. This parking lot repairs and fire road extension,
I'll speak to, no, maybe I should recuse myself. Yeah.
recuse yourself, we don't think that's necessary at all.
Neither do we.
Okay.
We're hoping that this is a no action, frankly.
No
Right.
Because it's such an ill-defined request.
Yeah. I was over there for the read aloud and went out and we couldn't find a part of the parking lot that was bad, that needed work. There's some crack filling that's been done, but the rest of it, compared to some places, it's in good shape.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the Green Meadows, this was a short discussion for us.
Yeah, we think that,
All right, the IT switches, we're on board with that, I guess. On these 23, 24, 25, and 26, the Wilbraham Finance Committee all voted no recommendation on all of them.
Was it unanimous or they were split on some? Split. On all of them? Okay.
They presented it as a one lump sum. And they voted, and their finance committee voted not to recommend it.
I thought they were breaking them out as separate articles.
No.
They put them all together?
The way they did it was, they,
Was it ABC?
it's one article, but it just shows what the cost of each one is.
But one vote only?
Yeah,
There's one article.
Yeah.
yeah.
So they could,
Wow.
somebody could amend the
So
article.
it's sink or swim, everybody
Yeah,
together.
it doesn't make a lot of sense to tie one to the other because they're each separate issues.
Did you, I don't know if you can put it up there, can you? You probably can't.
Oh, that letter?
No, they're
The minutes there?
their warrant. Let's continue, see if we can do that. The lease amendment, that's a nothing thing, purchase.
So Don, if I could, just for my own knowledge, you're saying 23 through 26, they combined all of the dollars on the Wilbraham side.
Yeah, I'll
Maybe
see
we
if I
can,
can get it.
we're gonna try to pull it up.
Nick sent it over, right?
Yep.
26, we're going to recommend from the floor because we had some questions.
Yeah.
Questions about this Kubota.
Well, I mean, I've asked for,
Yeah, just got to find out which article it
to
is.
see the quote.
No.
Okay, and I have not gotten that response yet.
That's theirs, we're spending.
Those were the last of the money questions we have, and the rest are, we may have opinions, but, you know.
Just on
Those aren't
the
regional
Kubota
ones.
thing, if
There we
the
go.
online
22,
retail
right?
price,
Yeah.
of the piece of
You pull it up.
equipment they want to purchase is significantly less than what they're requesting. So I think the question, John kind of led this charge is, if the retail price is X, why are you asking for Y?
Is it attachments? Is it because they have to get it off a state
My
contract?
understanding was the attachments, because they're replacing one, they were not gonna get any additional attachments. So
They have all existing attachments.
they can get, because it's the same, pretty much the same unit. So like I said, the online was.
So,
See, that's their article, Article 22.
so our total will be 90,000
See
for all
if
four?
the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the sum of 368 to fund, so that's one article.
So we've advertised it as separate articles.
Right.
Yeah.
So my question is, what if we vote A, B, and C, and then we say no on D? Is that whole thing gone?
They vote no on their Article 22.
No, but if they vote yes,
Say they vote yes, and we vote no on one of our ones.
Then they either,
no, does that not match theirs though? Right, because we didn't vote 1/4 of their thing.
I'm not sure what the answer is, but I do know that we didn't create the issue.
Right.
So, we'll let somebody else figure it out.
But anyhow, that, and they voted, and you can see the finance committee recommended, does not recommend approval.
Yeah.
I think the overarching question is, if this is a quote-unquote capital assessment, are we, is it just like the operating budget? We can't amend their operating budget.
But the
It's a no
letter
vote.
the letter we got was capital assessment.
Yeah, so maybe we're doing it wrong, but whatever.
Well, we'll find out.
Time will tell.
Jump in, figure it out later.
But how do we feel about the 4 articles per se? I would say the split ACs, although they are going down in price, that's not a bad price for them. The radio,
I'm no on the radio,
it's surprising.
because
It's just-
I can't believe that you can't make a radio go from one end of the school building to the other.
Every kid talks on
When
their
I can
cell
talk to
phone. Yeah.
when I can talk to my kid when we're at the house in Poland on a cell phone.
We did have an explanation about that, because we had questions as well. I mean, why can't you use a cell phone, call from one end of the building to the other? But apparently it has to do with emergency situations and being able to communicate over the existing channel. And there are essentially dead spots within the building with the existing repeater, is what we're told. So from a safety perspective, this has been requested by, was it the Wilbraham chief?
Chief.
in with our chief also, I think.
Okay.
So anyway,
All right.
No, I'm surprised. This is where you need Gina Khan with getting her safety grants all the time. This would be perfect for that type of thing. The camera system, I know Steve Hale's talked about in the past how bad the video is on that, and it's all about safety at that point. That's just, it's amazing that huge a number with the drop in gigabyte storage now. It's just, I'm sure 2/3 that number is cloud storage costs instead of actual equipment.
and our understanding is that the administration at the high school relies on these surveillance systems regularly to sort things out that have happened. So, yeah.
Nice.
Unfortunately, it's a necessary feature of the high
So
school.
this is the high school version of body cam, basically? Yeah. And the Kubota, we have questions too. So,
All right.
solar thing, no money, it's just straightening out. They had to move the fence because they couldn't go on the slope. DEP and Concom have both signed off.
Conservation, we already paid for that. Sort of. Right? We already paid for that.
It's an appropriation.
We appropriate, but we haven't paid.
Don't want to rush into it.
Yeah. Good luck explaining that one,
It took
Doug.
a
That's
year to
gonna be
create the lot.
Community preservation, those are all
the
fine.
same thing with I,
battery energy storage, that's good, accessory,
That's
that's
Is
it.
that this week or next week? That's this week?
16th.
16th, okay.
That planets having meetings.
The battery energy and the,
The 6th.
So it has,
this Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
this Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday?
Yeah, we're gonna
Yeah, I forwarded the
have a public hearing.
This Wednesday or next Wednesday?
This Wednesday, the
the
30th.
agenda that I
30th,
forwarded
okay.
earlier today was
All right.
for this Wednesday.
Yes.
And as soon as I get those official recommendations from the planning board, I'll post those online, so folks can see.
We had some procedural concerns on this. That the language for the proposed amendment was not available either for us or warrant. Some question of whether or not that has to be read into the record of the meeting. Something, I guess, for Rose, Rick to sort through.
Well,
That's a great,
That could be a long,
yeah, the reason
for your poker session.
Rose could have,
wow. Nice.
Rose,
She'll have to, how we should handle it.
Excuse me,
Yeah, 'cause you don't want the AG to go back, well, it wasn't properly posted and.
yes, Connie.
I don't have the warrant in front of me, but I do remember a couple of weeks ago, we had the warrant was presented, and as you went through it, I saw something, and it's some kind of facilities or maintenance, but it's a salary for $70,000.
Yeah, it's down to 40.
What is that called, and what exactly does that position entail?
Facilities manager.
Okay, facilities manager.
So the idea is that we would have one single individual who'd be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep at the higher level of all the town buildings. We would be the department head of anything that they have to do with their buildings, so the police chief's not trying to get his furnace fixed, so the fire chief's not trying to work getting their furnace fixed. And then a portion of that was also, we don't think that's 40 hours a week, we probably not enough work there with our buildings to cover that. So the other part of that would, to take charge of the maintenance at Thornton Burgess, the custodial duties at Thornton
So
Burgess.
this person, this one person for $70,000 is going to handle all of the maintenance and replacement, like if say, the senior center needs a new roof, is he going to get the roofer?
Yep,
Okay.
so they do the
and then-
coordination of that. They wouldn't do the roof, they would do the coordination with that. They'd schedule whatever quarterly maintenance needs to happen with some of.
Okay, and how often is he going to inspect these buildings?
I'm not sure exactly what the,
That's part of
What
what
the schedule
facilities involves, is coming up with a schedule. A schedule and a description of the duties, so that it becomes systematized, because right now it's ad hoc.
So I think that we should have that to start before we hire somebody and they decide what they're going to do.
Well, we will, we're just appropriating the money.
We need something in place.
We will have that in place, but
I'm getting old. I'm not getting around as much. I won't be here to report the overflowing gutters on the townhouse or the senior center or Carpenter Ants at the police station, holes in the foundation of the townhouse. I'm just not going to be here to report these things so they can get fixed. And I'm just thinking, wait a minute, I've been doing all of that for nothing. Jane's been doing all of that for nothing. Couldn't we have, like, in fact, Chrissy Season suggested this to me, and I thought it was a good idea, that we pay our building commissioner a little bit more, our plumbing and our electrical contractors a little bit more, and 3 times a year, they get a roofer and whatever, and they go and look at these buildings. It just wouldn't save us $70,000 a year. I'm thinking also of retirement. If we have an extra employee, we also have that retirement. And I just thought, we're a town of 5,000 and we're wanting more and more employees and we can't afford it.
Well, I think it's also because we also have, you look at the square footage of what municipal buildings are, and the fact that we're going to be picking up Thornton Burgess, and correct me if I'm wrong, which equals all the other buildings put together. And we've also talked, we haven't done a very good job of looking over the requirements at Academy Hall. And now we're going to have this one person, man, female, whichever, that's going to be having a whole game plan for, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 or 8 municipal buildings. It's a full-time job.
Even though
You're paying this person $10,000 a year for each building. Just.
No, less, we're talking
40,000.
40,000 divided, I mean, you could say 20,000 is Thornton Burgess by itself, and the other 20 is divided among the other 6 buildings, basically.
Yeah,
right.
Connie, your point's well taken, but
it's advisory at this point.
This request is a reflection of the fact that everything has become more complicated and there's less volunteer time.
I know it's complicated. The thing is, Doug, if I was 40 years younger, I'd do it for nothing.
Okay, let's also make the point that part of that was in Jane's salary. If you look, that number has been reduced tremendously, so don't look at it 40,000, look at the fact it's actually 20-something.
I understand that was kind of included in Jane's salary, but that was one employment, one retirement that we were paying. Now we're going to be paying another retirement. I thought it would be easier if we could get people who were doing things here anyway and getting paid for it.
Well, maybe we'll get lucky and they'll get hired by somebody else and not retire. We might get lucky, so.
I don't know. Anyway, I've been thinking about that and.
Oh, Craig's still on.
Well, it's certainly a concern,
Right.
but it's also a concern if something is let go, it can cost us.
Oh, I know, I'm
salary
all
and
for
that's-
maintenance, Doug, that, and Don has done a great job. I think Don is very concerned about that, and I'm sure you are too, John. And it's our biggest concern. And when we take on Thornton Burgess, with the square footage of that building, which was built in what, 67?
Well, but there's a lot of big issues that are facing the town. Facilities,
falling behind.
or the duties of the facilities person is one of them. I mean,
Big time.
Half of the management of the town is, 65 or 70 or older. I mean.
Okay, and your point?
Things are going to change.
All right,
Things are going to change.
all right, thank you. We gotta move on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
because our bedtime's coming up, so we can't.
Take my I gotta take my medicine, go to bed.
Is Carson on yet? Come on.
Jeopardy's on right now, right? From 30.
All right,
I always go to bed right after Jeopardy.
all right, well.
Thanks,
Thank you all for coming in, it'll be a fun time.
All right, we have the regional agreement amendment discussion.
Anything new?
No, we got this letter.
Oh, great.
Want to put the letter up?
Yeah. Share. Share.
All right,
Share.
so we got this letter, the regional from the Wilbraham Select Board. Where you going?
That's the top right
Get
there.
some water.
Top secret.
Get some water. So I'm just going to go briefly through it. So the Wilbraham Select Board discussed our discussion about the regional agreement on April 7th. And they favor the proposal as written in the amendment. They think that the Wilbraham school capital cost should be handled as if the building is a district building similar to Minnetonka Regional High School. The majority of the Wilbraham Select Board believes that the Wilbraham capital proposal should be paid for on a proportional basis. This is estimated to be 82% to 18%. And it says, most importantly, in the majority opinion of the Wilbraham Select Board is the fact that they are that any proposed middle school capital projects under the proposed amendment must be approved by both communities. That's true. However, they've raised, in the planning committee meeting, they've raised the question of that they don't like the fact that, as it was, the word was used, that the regional committee can force something on the warrant without a say of the committee. So they're kind of talking about two different things here, that they currently control what can go on as a capital cost, but they're opposed to the region saying what could be with capital. So I don't understand quite where they're going there. This requirement of town meeting approved by both communities is in effect as a carve-out procedure. They missed the point about the carve-out procedure. The carve-out procedure isn't whether rejecting a capital expenditure or not. What the carve-out procedure is taking the things that should have been done in the 2015 assessment, taken care of. That's what we carve out. And they've supported this in the past. Let me just pull this up.
When they talked about the roof in the parking lot last time, that was going to be carved out.
Right. Let me see here. So there's a misunderstanding regarding the term carve-out. The term refers to identified deficiencies that existed in a building that's solely owned by and the responsibility of the town of Wilbraham prior to the time of the transferring to Hampden students. It's nothing to do with having the right to vote no on a particular project. That's always been existed in the regional budgets, the regional assessments, right? So I don't quite understand where they're coming from there. And then it says if the select board is mindful, the voters of Hampden will have a 50% stake in decision-making on any given middle school capital project, while being financially responsible for only 18%. The Wilbraham Select Board asked the Hampden Select Board to give due consideration to the value of this arrangement. Well, that arrangement's in state law. That we get,
right.
If there's two members of this region, so each gets a 50% vote. If there was four members, each town would get a 25% vote. So, okay. Explaining, a majority of the Hampden Select Board does not favor carve-outs. And again, I'd say it's not about carve-outs, it's about the prior existing conditions. And they recognize that because, and they recognize it as your carve-out because in 2016, the amendment, when I put the amendment, they specifically said that the lease between the regional school district and the member towns for the middle school shall continue with expense allocations modified as follows. Operating expenses and expenses in the nature of capital outlay, including those incurred for the unified middle school, and maintenance expenses for Thornton, Burgess, and Hampden shall be apportioned to the member towns as provided in section 4E of the agreement. Notwithstanding the foregoing, Hampden shall bear no responsibility for any roof replacement at the unified middle school, and provided further that any capital expenditures unrelated to the unification of the middle school shall be apportioned to Hampden on a pro-rata basis based upon the occupancy year. So they've already recognized that there should be some carve-outs. In addition to that, there is a published report that said the district is proposing that the towns of Hampden and Wilbraham amend their regional agreement to allow Hampden students to be educated at Wilbraham Middle School for a period of 5 years. The plan calls for leasing modular classrooms to accommodate the combined 6th and 8th grade. Operational costs of the unified building will be assumed according to the town's assessment, except for any pre-existing costs, such as the cost of the roofs, which will be the responsibility of Wilbraham. So this is not a new concept, and this is what we're talking about here. The other thing I thought was interesting in their letter was, they said that the rationale for this majority opinion includes doubt about the relevance of a study from 10 years ago, and the reality that the middle school capital projects approved by both communities going forward will benefit the students. Well,
If it was relevant
So-
10 years, how's it get less relevant?
So how does it get less relevant when some of those things haven't been taken care of? And I found this very curious because two of the members that are currently on the Wilbraham Select Board were on the middle school task force. So they recognized that there was pre-existing conditions that had to be taken care of if the schools,
Sue was, who else?
Mark, who's the
Was
chair of the
Mark on
school
too?
committee,
Oh, as chair of the school
school
committee.
committee.
Oh, okay.
right? And then lastly, it says, furthermore, the Wilbraham Select Board rejects any notion that postponing any given middle school capital project has relied on the possibility of Hampden taxpayers being asked to fund a portion of these projects in the future. This is simply not accurate. Can you put the other thing up? Okay, so on March 13th of this year, the Wilbraham Capital Planning Committee met, and Dr. Slaughter presented the rationale for requesting $700,000 for the Unifence system. And he said this is driven, given the problem we had with the mole issue at the beginning of the school year, okay? The capital planning chair asked, so this project is like high priority. Can you move it up a little bit? Yep. It's like high priority. Dr. Slaughter said high priority for us, given we missed a couple of days of school. And then there was some talk about the insurance claim and the return on investment. And the real reason we want to focus on this is the safety aspect we're dealing with this year. A member of the Finance Committee and Capital Planning Committee said, I know there's some discussions regarding Wilbraham Middle School in general about how potential capital costs can be broken up. The whole other conversation outside of us totally about how the kids basically coming and discussing to make it a regional school. This kind of, that's kind of outside us, so I have a concern about that, and if there's something imminent coming. Which point the chair of the committee asked, so are you saying that if they regionalize the cost for capital improvements could be shared? And he said, exactly. Basically, it's one middle school now. I'm kind of viewing it from that view, like the same as Midshog. Go ahead. Okay. So then Dr. Slaughter said, part of our urgency district right now is getting the kids to be where the kids that are in there right now. We need to have a system to have a building that's pretty safe for them. We want to make sure we're taking care of that because those kids are going to be in that building. And he said the capital question is part of that discussion. And the real reason we want to focus on this is the safety aspect we're struggling with this year. The members said, I appreciate that. So then they came to the vote, and the chair said, I also do think that there were some valid points made. If the middle school gets regionalized, how would those costs be shared? Something a committee we need to think about. Go ahead. So he said, if we are not comfortable voting on the $700,000 for the Wilbraham Middle School, given the questionable number, and their concern there was that they didn't have a real quote. It was like, we think it's gonna cost us, they wanted a specific quote.
This wasn't a hard number?
There wasn't a hard number.
That's
Right?
fair. Well, that part's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on the regionalization issue, right? So we could pass it. I think we should take a vote passing on that, because they're waiting, if it's regionalized, to share the cost.
Right, I mean, I have no problem if they don't have a sense that the quote is good, no
hard
problem,
number.
that's a fair thing.
And they had time,
Anybody would.
and they had time to get a good quote.
No, but I mean, anybody
Yeah.
would ask that, that's
Yeah, right,
fine.
right,
But the
right.
regionalization thing, Don, you make the point again, the mole problem's been there for 20 years.
Right.
We've been there for 5.
Yeah.
You knew you had to, just waiting for somebody else to come in and share it.
Yeah, so that's
So-
what we have. So I'm of the mind right now, look at, let the school committee propose an amendment to regionalize it, go to town meeting and let the town meeting decide.
Right.
Craig, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
Takes him a minute though.
All right.
Go ahead.
Unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with you, Don. 100%. You know my stance. there's no return on investment for investing in something that's already faulty. We're losing money either way. And I go back to that first letter too, where it says a majority of the board. So does that mean the board wasn't in unison with their decision?
I don't know.
You know, I didn't get to watch their meeting, so I don't know, but you know, obviously it was framed in that context where it wasn't a full member approval of their board.
Right.
And secondly, it goes back to that study, everything that you said. Yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating.
And so I'm of the mind just saying, look, let the amendment go, and we'll go to the town meeting and you can make the case for it. And we'll see what the people say. I mean, I don't know how we resolve this. I don't. John, you have any comment?
Well, I think that's the thing right there. Again, heck, they don't know what they're talking, which way they want to go.
Right.
I don't want to say it the wrong way there. They don't know, which way they want to go with it. And to force it on us, when this has been discussed so long ago, it's just, the fairness issue can't be overstated, especially when you have documentation saying, look, years ago, you knew there was a carve-out. And now that you see somebody show up with money in their pocket, like, we're gonna take that back? No. We'll help going forward for new things, because that's the right way to be.
Right.
But you brought us a house that had defects, you knew about the defects, fix them, and then we'll share the house together. It's as simple as that.
And just to add another point there, when we all met the both joint meeting with the board, both our boards, they kept pushing back. Well, it's for the kids, you want to make sure it's safety for the kids.
Right.
And they threw that in our plate. And I agree with that. It's the safety for the kids. But why wasn't it addressed 10 years ago if it's such a safety concern that they want to press us for it? So don't throw that at me and then be like, oh, well, we've been kicking it down the can for 10 years.
And Dr. Slaughter was very forceful in saying, look, this is a real safety problem, a real safety issue that we need to take care of,
Yeah.
So.
Agreed.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
No, I do appreciate Dr. Slaughter. I think, like I've said before, his background being a selectman in a system before, I think allows him to see several sides, which is good.
All right. I just wanted to bring that up, and I think we'll have to, maybe Brian and I can come up with a response, and I'll share it with you guys.
Thank you.
Ambulance agreement?
What the heck is next?
Ambulance agreement.
Yeah.
So I created the ambulance agreement for fiscal year 26 through 28. Before I sent it out to Action Ambulance. Action Ambulance got back to us and said that they agreed with how it was amended. I'm waiting for a signed copy back from them. Essentially, we did take out the language that talked about a reopener based on uncertain regulatory environment. I think Don's point in the conversations was that they have a sort of a built-in cushion whether revenues go up or down in terms of our level of reimbursement. So they were okay with that. I'm just waiting to get back their signed copy, and then I can have the board sign it. You do have a copy of I emailed it out to the board, a copy of the final agreement and a copy with changes. So if there's any questions, you can let me know.
One thing we talked about, Don, was like carrying the rebate number in the budget.
Right.
But the language here shows that there might not be a guarantee, because it says here, if the actual rebate varies from the projected rebate, the net subsidy can be back up to 386.
Yeah, that's always been in there.
So I'm saying, we had talked before about potentially amending the number to figure, but the likely that it might thing, we'd be short. So we're just gonna leave it.
Yeah, we're gonna leave it, because we've been getting a 50 or 60,000.
It'll go to free cash.
Yeah, go free cash, yeah.
All right, a motion to, were you asking for any changes, or we're good?
I mean, you guys, you can vote on it if you're okay with it.
We're gonna approve it, and then we can sign it when I get it.
Motion to approve the 3-year agreement with Action Ambulance as negotiated by the town administrator.
A second?
Second.
Why does it keep going up?
I don't know.
Any further discussion?
Huh?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, all in
Aye.
favor?
All right, thank you. I didn't get a harumph from that guy.
Delay, he goes green here, but then it doesn't come on.
Okay, what's next?
I think we're finally down to the Board of Health stuff,
We got the minutes.
and then the Board, most,
Transfer station?
Where's the Board of Health stuff? What do you got in that?
basically talk about the fees, and I have one person requesting a disposal works installer permit. I'll take that first. We have somebody coming in, Belco Construction Company of Westfield would like to have a disposal work installer's permit. They paid their fee, why not?
What do they do?
They dispose of the works.
Where do they dispose of it?
Don't ask where it goes.
So move. Okay, that's.
Second.
Yeah, beep
All in favor? Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
okay.
All right, so the other concern I have is the budget for the enterprise fund. Going over the numbers with Lori and looking over numbers before with Jane. Costs have gone up, both in the hauling and in salaries as well. I do think we're gonna need to, the sticker sales start next week for the FY '26 year. I think we're going to need a bump in sticker price. Lori did some checking around. For instance, I think she said even Wilbraham was $100 a sticker. We are 70 and 35 for the second. Seniors are 30 and extra sticker at 15.
We're at 70?
Well, you're taking a senior sticker, Don.
I know, but I thought it was 60.
No, we bumped it a year or so ago. I'm okay with the regular sticker, the bulk sticker. I think we should be looking at least a $10 change, 10 and 5 change in the senior sticker. We aren't, if we don't raise these costs and the bag costs, the revenue doesn't go up, but the expenses go up.
So so you want a motion to,
Basically, the sticker would be 40 and 20 for seniors. And then I may be coming back, we're doing a recap, we have more time on the bags, because the sticker sales start in May. The bag change wouldn't take effect until July 1st, so we're gonna run some more numbers on that.
and we're not increasing
The regular one at this point, no.
Okay. Jesus. All right, I move we increase the sticker price for seniors to $40 and an extra sticker to $20.
Wow, Don, that's gonna hit you right in the pocket.
I'm on a fixed income.
I hope that goes okay at home.
Sure, it gives you $10 a week.
You have a second?
Did Don really say that backwards?
No, he said regular sticker 40 and extra 20, I thought.
Yeah, seniors.
Oh.
Yeah, senior sticker, the regular sticker 40 and extra sticker 20.
Gotcha, okay, second.
All in favor? Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. All right,
Now minutes. Yeah.
now minutes. How about a consent agenda on the minutes?
Motion to approve all minutes as presented without release for the executive session minute.
Can I second that from remote?
Sure.
Yeah.
If you were at the meeting, sure.
Yeah, I'm good.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, that was well done, Don. That's a new one.
All right, let's see, we got select board reports.
Sure. Nothing to report.
Nothing to report for me.
Don, Craig?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, town administrators report.
Just a
Keep
couple,
it going, Brian.
sorry, just a couple important things. So on the town website, under town meetings and elections, there's a copy of the posted warrant. There is a copy of the green sheets that will be mailed out in the Hampden Times. We call it the Hampden Times, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And a copy of the explanations for the warrant articles. There's also additional information that about the fire station article on the town website as well. If people want to go there, they can start studying for town meeting. And we'll leave it at that.
Okay,
Actually, can I jump in on that for 1 second?
yes,
Who's this?
There's an open house listed on the website for the fire station too, where if people want to tour it to see its current condition, they can do that.
Yeah, weren't they scheduling 2 or 3?
Three.
3, yeah.
all right, thank you. Anything else? Anything else to come before the board?
Lauren,
Nope.
everybody's happy?
Okay,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Say aye.
Who was the second aye?
I don't know.
Might have been John, might have been John Plaster.
Sad.
Yeah, still recording.
All right.
You have left the meeting.
Are we muted?
No, I don't think so.